Anthony, this is obviously the matchup that everybody has been looking at, right? I mean, I don't think you'd ever hear anybody in the facility admit that it was a 3-game lead up to, the first true test. But I think anybody that would deny that fact is kind of kidding themselves. This is a real opportunity to make an impression. And thankfully, and I really mean that, thankfully, the Buckeyes didn't have to start with Notre Dame this year because I'm not sure it would have gone quite as well as it did last year. And I like where they're at here going into week 4.
Yeah, you got to feel good about where the team's at, right? I think that weeks 1, 2, and 3 were very tangible steps, and everyone could kind of see it, right? Week 1, not so great. Week 2, maybe a little bit better, but still not great. Last week, week 3 against Western Kentucky, things started to really click. And you started to see an Ohio State team that we all recognize. That every fan that's watching the Buckeyes recognize, oh, that's the team I know, and that's the team that I want to be watching this year. So they're taking the right steps and doing it at the right time. I mean, this is going to be – the Saturday is going to be unbelievable. Outside of Ohio State and Notre Dame, it's an incredible slate of college football, and Ohio State versus Notre Dame is going to be the nightcap for it, and it's going to be an incredible day, and this game is everything a college football fan could ever hope for. 2 teams, both in the top 10, the biggest traditions in all of college football. It's going to be off the charts cool.
Well, and that's the part of it that I think is most cool, right? I don't know that it'll necessarily have the same flavor as what we saw with Colorado and Colorado State, where obviously a much smaller game, but there's nothing in the world right now that's hyped other than maybe Messi. There's nothing in the world that's hyped more than Coach Prime right now. And so, The Rock was there, and every major national countdown to kickoff show was there. And, you're going to have that same kind of atmosphere in South Bend this weekend. College Game Day, the first time they ever went on the road in their show's history, the first time ever they did a show was from South Bend. I'm pretty sure they've done more Ohio State games, whether in Columbus or on the road, than any other team ever. And obviously these are national fan bases, not just, regional ones, although it's cool that the schools really aren't that far away from each other. So there's an awful lot of attention, and it'll be the nightcap of what should be a fun day in college football for sure. And I think the matchup probably is, in my opinion, it should probably live up to the hype, because there's enough talent on both sides of the ball that you feel like, okay, both teams are finally going to see something that looks equitable, right? I mean, Ohio State was on a different level than Indiana, Youngstown State, and obviously last week when they had a chance to play Western Kentucky. Look, I don't think Notre Dame's played perfect football, but they've looked really good in their first several games. They've obviously played one more game with starting their season in Dublin against Navy. And so both teams have some parts of their team they feel really good about, probably have some parts of their team they're still trying to go, okay, what's exactly this going to be this year? And I think it's different. Like, for example, Notre Dame, they feel really good about quarterback play. Ohio State feels pretty good about quarterback play. Notre Dame feels really good about its offensive line. Ohio State feels better about its offensive line, things like that. So neither team's a finished product, and I think it will be fun to watch 2 teams that look like they could be good, and both teams that certainly should factor into the college football playoff race get a chance to not play each other so early on that we don't feel like it's a true test of who they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. I think that, too, for our fans who are going to start consuming the content for this week, just as the players are starting to prepare, our fans starting to prepare, these teams are on 2 different trajectories, I would say. Like we talked about, Ohio State's more going like this, where they started and, didn't look as clean, and they're getting a lot better. Whereas Notre Dame kind of started pretty clean. You rewind a couple weekends to that Navy game, and they looked clean. They didn't look great, but they look clean. And then they go through weeks 2 and 3 for them, or I guess 2, 3, and 4 for them, and they've kind of just been very steady. Very same, not really too much different between the weeks. And you get that from a veteran team. Notre Dame's going to come in with a lot of experience. Obviously, Sam Hartman's a new quarterback for the Irish, but this is his 5th or 6th. He's my age pretty much. I mean, holy cow. This guy's been in college for forever, but he's been in it. He's been in big games. He kind of turned Wake Forest around in his years there. So he's a veteran guy, and they have veteran offensive linemen, veteran receivers, a veteran running back. So it's that kind of a feel. Whereas Ohio State, you got some new guys everywhere. We've talked about it a ton. So Ohio State's more going like this, where Notre Dame's kind of been going like this, and I think it's going to be a great meeting. And just like you said, this in theory could be. This is a potential playoff preview, right? These are two teams that are going to be in the conversation at the end of the year, rightfully so. And it's so fair that it's in week 4. Like, I think if this would have been week 1, like it was last year, you would have got an Ohio State team that was not ready for it. But now I think Ohio State's going to be ready for it, and it's going to be a really clash of titans, I think, on Saturday evening.
To be fair to Notre Dame, though, in your context, when you kind of say, hey, look, Notre Dame is here. And for those that are listening after the fact, we're talking about a fairly high bar in the first place, and where maybe they're, I don't want to say plateauing, but, to your point, steady. They've been steadily good. It's not like they're mediocre. I mean, this is a team that statistically has had a pretty good run of form. Their defense looks solid. I don't know that they've really been tested yet, but every time you go play, you got to go execute. Their defense has been good. Sam Hartman's thrown more touchdown passes than any quarterback in college football since the beginning of 2021. Obviously, some of that's because of his age, right? And he's had lots of opportunities, but don't take away his productivity from him. He's been really good. I've been impressed watching him on and off the field. When he talks to the media, he's a mature kid, and I don't think the stage is going to be too big for Sam Hartman. I think you grow up hoping to play in games like this. When you close your eyes and think, what I want my college football experience to look like, you envision playing in the shoe, playing at Notre Dame, playing at Alabama or Georgia or whatever in big moments where everybody's watching. That when you put on a good show, people will pay attention. Again, I don't want to keep going back to the Colorado State thing, but I just saw earlier today that at 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, there were still 8.2 million people watching that game because they were interested with what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So bigger fan bases, bigger platform here. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs. And so your goal should be, let's go ball out. Let's go see what we got. And I think guys on both teams are going to feel that way.